Good Monday morning. What a weekend it was. Holy smokes. The Tigers not only win the American Athletic Conference Championship, they get their biggest surprise. They get a 5 seed. Now, if I looked yesterday, prior to the selection show, Lenardi had Memphis an 8 seed. When I looked yesterday, I believe my friend Mike DeCourcy, the Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, who's going to join us next segment, I believe he had the Tigers as an 8 seed.
Ouch.
Ouch. That's Elijah filling in for Brian Texas. No, but we got to get Brian on here for 1 second because this happens to be Bryant Dacus's birthday. Bryant, tomorrow it's WHBQ's birthday. Q's going to be 100. I was thinking about this. I really didn't think radio started till like 35, 38, but obviously 25.
How about that?
So, you're chasing 100. You're not close. What is this for you?
I'm a quarter of the way there.
Quarter century.
Right.
That's a big birthday.
That's right, 25.
What are you doing to celebrate?
Me and the family, we're going to go out and get dinner tonight. My girlfriend took me out to a really nice dinner over the weekend, so, keeping it very low-key.
Very good. You get to be 25, that thing, girlfriend, you start thinking the F word.
Well, maybe one day. Maybe one day soon.
That's fiance, by the way, folks. Just so you're 25. Happy birthday, Brian.
Thank you, Dave.
Dacus. So the Tigers, I'm listening to some people, and, they're complaining about Memphis because the Tigers barely beat Wichita State 83-80. They barely, by 1 point, even though it was really like 4, beat Tulane. I know the Tulane folks think they got robbed on a call, that Haggerty sealed the game. This is the thing you love about P.J. Haggerty. The dude could not shoot. After he scored 42, he could not shoot. But what did he do? He could shoot from the free throw line. 14 of 14. He makes the play with the steal at the end of the game and then is smart enough to call timeout when the ball is up for grabs and he gets it. Wow. He made the winning plays. And then yesterday, Danger was the guy. I know that Haggerty was the player of the tournament, the MVP of the AAC championship, to go along with his player of the year. But Dane Danger was the dangerous guy yesterday. He was phenomenal. And I've been thinking about this for a while. I've mentioned to you folks before, if you watch his footwork, it's flawless. And the great thing about it is you have different footwork when you're using your left hand or your right hand. And this guy is absolutely the best of the Tigers' big men when it comes to fundamental footwork and use of both hands that I think I've ever seen. And you can go back. There's a lot of guys. Duran was really good when he was here. Not as good footwork-wise as Dane Danger. You can go back. Keith Lee really wasn't a center, but it had the best hands of a big guy I'd ever seen. But footwork like this, no, because he would take it outside. Joey Dorsey, great rebounder, much better rebounder than Dane Danger, but skilled in the post. Footwork, no, not as good as Dane Danger.
He is incredibly polished. A blast from the past, if I say so myself, with the way that he maneuvers in the paint. Very fun to watch.
It is. And I'm not sure if Colorado State has a really solid big man. I was shocked. Memphis gets the seed they want. They're a 5 seed. And I'm looking at these Vegas futures. It's 5-12 right now. I know there's upsets in that game all the time. I think that may be shifting a little bit now. because of NIL. But it used to be that a 5 seed always came from a bigger conference, and a 12 seed usually came from a middle-level conference that had 5 seniors that had played together for 4 years. That's the way it used to work. That's why, in my mind, there were always so many 12s that beat 5s. I'm not sure that's the case anymore, but maybe some of that is history. Maybe there are people that are saying Hunter's out. We don't know about Harris. Your 2 point guards, really, the truest of your point guards that are really not going to be available, or we're not sure if they're going to be available. So Colorado State's got this really good big guard that averages 19 points a game. They got 2 other guys that average double figures. They've won 10 games in a row. They won their tournament too. They knocked off Boise State. So they've made them the favorite. Now, I haven't checked that line of late. It opened at 2.5. I saw somebody said it went down to 1.5. What, do we know right now where that stands?
According to ESPN, it remains at 2.5 for now, or it's gone back up to 2.5.
2.5. Wow. So I don't know how often you see a 12 seed favorite over a 5 by Vegas stuff, but there it is. We'll see. That's really good bulletin board material for Penny Hardaway and for Memphis to use. I just feel so bad for Tyrese Hunter, and I was so glad that he got to place the little, they have their brackets and they have the little plaque that says Memphis on there to stick on the board as champion. And it could have been obviously Danger that did that. It could have been Haggerty that did that, as he was named the tournament MVP. But they wanted Tyrese Hunter to do it. And that's such a freak accident. Can you imagine you're backing up to play some defense and you step on a teammate's foot and whatever happened knocked him out for a game and a half, and we'll see if it knocks him out of the NCAA. I'm not hopeful, to be totally honest, that he would be able to go. I don't blame Memphis for not saying. If you look and see Cooper Flagg, they said he's fine. Why? Why did they disclose that? Because they didn't want it to hurt their seed, and they knew that he would be okay to play. Did you notice Iowa State, their best player? They never said a word about him until after the announcement they were a 3 seed. They go, he's not playing.
Wow.
So it's smart of the Tiger Brass and Penny Hardaway to just say, he's out for this game. We'll see what his status will be after this game. And then I am certain that when Memphis arrives in Seattle on Wednesday and they get asked this question on Thursday, they'll disclose exactly what the status of Hunter will be going forward. Because then it doesn't matter. Now they may wait and make Colorado State sort of wonder if he's going to play. But we shall see. I've not really delved into that matchup yet. And as I say, we got our good friend Mike DeCourcy coming up. He may know a little bit more. I've been looking at this whole thing. First off, I got to say I'm so happy for Tony Madlock in Alabama State. Tony left here to go to South Carolina State, which is just a dreadful job. 1 year, good enough to show everybody he could really make a difference at a program, got hired by Alabama State. I think he was like the 5 seed in his conference tournament and ends up winning the conference tournament. And I got to tell you about Tony Madlock. When the Tigers were in Birmingham to take on UAB, it was a Sunday. His team had played on Saturday, so he made the drive. I'm pretty sure that's in Montgomery, is it not? Alabama State?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So he made the ride from Montgomery to Birmingham. I'd say that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. I've done it several times. And he came to watch his Tigers play. That's the kind of guy he is. Right in the middle of his season or toward the end of his season, he still did that. Outstanding. I'm so happy for the kid from Melrose to take a team And there's teammates. Madlock and Hardaway, both teammates. Both have teams in the NCAA. How would you like to be in Lexington for these games?
Man,
Can you believe that region? Can you believe you will not be able to get a ticket? You know who's in this region? It's unreal. So they got Tennessee in this region. They have Auburn in this region. They got Tony Madlock and Alabama State. Well, he's got to beat St. Francis to get into that position. They're going to play in Dayton first. But they have Creighton, and I don't understand how Louisville gets put in this region. I think that's crazy. How do you take Louisville as an 8 seed? I mean, if they were a 3 seed, they should get proximity. This is a home game for them. Louisville,
Literally.
Come on. Is that fair?
I think some people may say they were underseeded and rationalize it that way, but even still.
Well, that Alicia's really, I think, a fair take. So they're going, okay, we're going to make you an 8 seed. You got to play Creighton, but we're giving you a home game. It's a little like the rationale when we saw, okay, you're going to Seattle, but you're a 5 seed. You'll trade that off to get the seeding. And I like Memphis's chances. Look, it's never easy in the NCAA, and I know you got to travel to Seattle, but how many people from Colorado State are really going to go? It's not like it's around the corner. It's not in Denver, folks. They got to get to Seattle. Same kind of plane ride that Memphis is going to take. I guess you could drive there, but just GPS for me really quick. What's the drive between Colorado Springs, Colorado, and Seattle, Washington? It's got to be at least an 8, 9, 10-hour ride.
It can't be less than 8 hours.
Yeah, I'm with you. Can't be. We'll double check on that. We got Dacus on even though it's his birthday, we got him on the job here. But Louisville gets the home, and that's maybe the trade-off. If I were Creighton, I'd be mad. But Creighton, that's a long way from Omaha, but they draw. They're one of the, home, I think their home attendance is 8th in the country. Memphis played an NIT game against them a few years ago. There was not a seat in house for an NIT game in Omaha.
Wild.
So they probably travel pretty well. But, man, you think about it, between Tennessee, Auburn, Louisville, and Creighton, not to mention, I don't know how many folks that are going to be there from UCLA, Utah State, or Wofford, but my gosh, that ticket will be impossible to get.
There will not be an empty seat in the house.
Going to be fun. I mean, it's going to be fun. Oh my gosh, I just had this realization. Brian Dacus, who's your favorite hockey team?
The Seattle Kraken.
Guess where the games are?
Climate Pledge Arena.
They are. We're going to be at the home of the Kraken.
Better enjoy it. I've heard it's beautiful.
I'm looking forward. So, and if you win that game, and then you got to win both. You got to beat Maryland. Greg Gaston's Maryland Terrapins.
How about this, Dave? I have the distance for you. So driving from Colorado Springs to Seattle, 20 hours.
No, they can't drive that. They're
Flight
not driving
is
that.
5 hours. So it's not easy
Flight
getting from
is
Colorado.
5 hours? So what, you got to go from Colorado Springs to either Denver or Salt Lake
Yeah,
City or
there's a
something.
connection there. I don't know what it is, but yeah.
I love that. So they're not going to have that many people there.
Nah.
Let's just look at this. Maryland's got to go a long way, right? Colorado State's got to go a long way. See who else is in Seattle. I was looking at this before. It's you kind of want to see if you got buddies or other schools that you know, so you can kind of mingle and really enjoy the whole experience. But in Seattle, so Grand Canyon, that is in Arizona. Is that right?
Correct.
That's a long way. They ain't going to have anybody there. You've got Oregon. They will bring people. Liberty's not going to bring a soul. Arizona, that's a long way. And Akron? See, this makes no sense to me. They went to these regions so they could get more local regional draws to get more people in the house. The only one that makes sense is Louisville, to Lexington, which I think is unfair a little bit to Creighton. But my gosh, Oregon is the closest one to Seattle. It'll be all Oregon in their session. There'll be nobody there for Memphis and Colorado State.
You wouldn't think so, at least.
Except for maybe a whole bunch of people that bought tickets because they want to go to the NCAA and hoping they would get their school in there, and they did not go. I was honestly hoping that Memphis was going to go to Lexington because that was one you could drive. I wouldn't have minded Milwaukee. I know that they've been good hosts, and it's a bit of a haul, but it's not terrible. You could have even gone to Wichita. I don't think really any Tiger fans wanted to go back to Wichita, but that's really a drivable kind of a thing. What is that, 8-10 hours at the most?
Yep.
I think that's about right. So we had a lot of people go to Portland the last time, and I suspect I was just really impressed, honestly, by the amount of people that were wearing blue that came for the American Athletic Conference tournament.
They showed up and showed out.
I'd say somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000, easy.
Wow.
Which is pretty darn impressive, honestly. Next year, I'm not sure where the tournament will be. I know the 4 are Tampa, which may have the edge here because I think the league as a whole views that more as a destination. USF, when they're good, they do draw, but when they are not very good, if they were the hosts and they were this year's team, I don't know what kind of interest there would be. And then Wichita's put in a bid, Birmingham has put in a bid, and Memphis has put in a bid. Here's the one area, because Memphis is clearly the best place for this. It's most centralized for everybody to get to. It's got an NBA arena with plenty of locker rooms and meeting rooms and everything else on a practice gym that you need. And it's got an entertainment district and plenty of hotels for all the fans to enjoy.
Not to mention the fan base.
And your session when Memphis is there will all be big.
That's right.
But Memphis, from what I understand, is the only one, because I heard Pernetti was telling people this, Memphis was the only bid that only did the men. So now they got to make a decision. Is Memphis the best place for the men and put the women somewhere else, or are we going to take Tampa, Wichita, or Birmingham that have agreed to take them both? Now, the way they do it, I don't like the way the American does the men and the women. If you remember back to CUSA, we had an overlap with men and women, and they did it like the first time was in El Paso. And they had those games going on at the same time. If you went to see your school, you could actually go see both teams. The way the women do it, you're not going to go to both. You're not going to spend a week in Fort Worth watching your women and then wait for your men to come. That's just not going to happen. And so I've never liked the format that they used if you're going to do it a week before. And the only thing that has a little overlap is the championship game for the women to the men. I don't think they did it right. I don't know what their plans are. So I don't know how important it is to keep them together in that format. But we shall see. But that is my understanding, is that Memphis was the only bid that had men only without the women. So if they don't get it, that may be the case. Just one really quick thing before, two quick things. One, news from the Grizzlies, and I'll get to them in medals in a little bit, but G.G. Jackson has been sent down to the G League?
How about that?
That's shocking.
He could very well burst for 50 points.
I am starting to wonder, does 51 points, what does that mean if you get 51 in the G League? If you get 51 in the G League and then you get into FedEx Forum, and let's say you're Cam Spencer, you have a couple of good games, but 51 in the G League means nothing.
He just wants to make sure they're paying attention.
Well, they gave him the green light, that's for sure. And Gigi will probably get it. But on a serious note of this, there was talk at the beginning of this year, G.G. Jackson was going to be a star. You know, he would have been a first-round guy. He would have been a top 8 pick if he hadn't had his troubles at South Carolina. And then he showed a lot of promise early in the season last year.
Still a very young player.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what is he, 20?
Maybe 20 years old. He's a very young rookie.
Right. So I'm not saying this is the end of his career, but I would have to say this is a major setback where your team is saying, after your team gave you every chance to become a rotation star, they're saying you need seasoning. We're sending you down. Unless this is an injury rehab that I'm not aware of, because they've let us know about every other injury.
Right.
So, I mean, who knows if they're legit injuries? I mean, if that were the case, I think that we've had, for Ja alone, who's not playing tonight in Sacramento, but for Ja, we've had shoulder, hip, knee, now wrist. No, is it wrist? There's some
hamstring tonight.
Hamstring, excuse me. Wrist is Pippen, I'm sorry. I mean, almost every part of Ja's 20-year-old body is just falling apart.
He's playing Operation.
Yes, that's good. That's because there a buzzer on that thing. Good stuff. All right. We got to take a break. I will let you know we're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. It's good to be back, at least for a short period of time. That Family Leisure Studio is going to be moving to Seattle here in a couple of days. And it's still happening, not in this studio, but it is happening at I-40 and Whidden Road, where you can be a part of the first ever preseason pool, spa, and patio. And they're not calling this a sale. They're calling it an event. When it's an event, that means you can find a pool for under $2,000. If it's an event, you can get a spa from under $3,000. When it's an event, a patio furniture set, and I'm talking state of the art, is under $800. And because it's an event, you can register to win either a free pool, spa, or patio set just by signing up. Somebody's going to win it. Stop by today. You be the guy or the gal. Stop by today and sign up at Family Leisure at I-40 and Whidden Road. We end to Pittsburgh. We will talk to our Hall of Famer, and then we will do medals in our final segment. I've got several of those to give out today. We're underway on Wolo and Friends.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Hello?
Hey, little sis. Did you get your W-2 yet?
Yes, I did.
Well, you know last year when I told you to file early to get your refund quick?
Yes, I remember.
Well, go ahead and call now, and you can get your refund fast.
Thanks. That's why I love you. Always looking out for your little sis.
To get your taxes filed quick and get your refund fast, go to Brenton Tax Service, located in Midtown Memphis on Madison Avenue. We may not be related to you, but at Brenton Tax Service, we protect you like family.
This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Benstorff Realtors. I'm often called Shell Done because I sell homes and work with buyers and I get the job done. There are 7 keys to successfully selling your home quickly at a great price. First, call me. I do my research and advise you on preparation, presentation, and proper pricing that gets you the activity to get the best price. Follow my advice and it can happen. I did mention 7 keys to a successful sale, didn't I? Well, if you use the first key, calling or emailing me, you really don't need the next 6 keys. Remember, that's Sheldon Rosengarten at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. If you don't need me now, write it down for later or for a friend. That's Sheldon at 483-0546 at MemphisRelocate.com. Do it now, and who knows, you may hear your home advertised here. Remember, as bad an offer as I am, when selling homes, Shell Done gets it done.
Volkswagen deal days are on, and it's your best time to buy a Gossett Volkswagen on the Pike. Right now, 2024 Taos SE's only $239 a month. How about 2025 Jetta SE? We got it $269 a month. New 2023 Taos SE's only $26,998. All 2024 Volkswagen Atlas SEL Peak Editions or all 2024 Volkswagen Atlas Cross Sport SELR lines, $5,000 off. Plus new 2023 VW Atlas SE Tech, $31,999. So hurry to Gossett Volkswagen 1875 Covington Pike online, GossettVWMemphis.com. Gossett is charging for it and charging less every day. If you want it, we got it at Gossett Volkswagen. MSRP 27,116, Taos SE, RM 107,067, MSRP 30,658, 23 Taos, MSRP 32,119, Tech PC 513,081, MSRP 43,646, includes all rebates and incentives, PF 895, excludes tax title and license. See dealer for complete details, offer valid through end of the month with approved credit, dealer stock only. Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today?
I need new rotors.
When you buy 2 Duralast rotors during our spring sale, you get Duralast brake pads free.
Free?
With the rotors.
That's great. What if I need extra stopping power?
You can upgrade to Duralast Gold pads for just $10.
So Duralast pads are free?
Yep.
And an upgrade is just $10?
That's right. Part of the spring sale at AutoZone.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a mother pheasant plucker, I pluck mother pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Wolo.
All we hear is radio.
I was so distracted by Q's 100th birthday tomorrow and Brian Dakett's quarter of a century birthday today that I forgot to say happy St. Patrick's Day.
Be St. Pads.
I know. I got some green finally. Chris Taylor came in and gave me a little green bracelet because I had forgotten totally that it.
You're pinch proof now.
Yeah, well, there you go. Although the right people pinching, you got to consider. I hope my wife didn't hear that. Also, a reminder tonight, Memphis Amateur Sports Hall of Fame, 7 o'clock, social hour at 6 at the Hilton. I know I will see several of you there. In the meantime, let's go to Pittsburgh. We finally have ourselves a bracket. Last I looked, I think I was checking, because I truly believe in Mike DeCourcy, the Hall of Famer from the Sporting News, truly believe in what he says and what he writes. I take that as the gospel. I think I looked up yesterday morning, and did I see 8 seed Mike DeCourcy in your little bracket?
I did. I wrestled with Memphis for weeks, and remember, it's not about what I think when I do those brackets. It's not, this is what Mike DeCourcy would do. I wish it were. It would be a lot easier job. I wouldn't have to worry about whether I was, quote, correct. But I looked at that predictive resume metric split, and it was as vast as I've ever seen. In the 4-seed range for the resume metrics, in the 10-seed range for the predictive metrics. And I wrestled with that, and I held out as a 6 seed for the Tigers for a long time. And I kept thinking that teams behind them would take some losses that ultimately the committee would say, well, we just can't stick it to these guys. There's nobody to take their place. And when BYU won a bunch of really tough games, good games, tough opponents that escalated them, and Kansas, although they did not do great in the Big 12 tournament, finished fine, and Illinois got some nice wins down the stretch after the embarrassment against Duke, and it like everybody just was doing enough to make me feel like, okay, they're going to stick it to the Tigers. That's why I moved them. I just felt like if I had them as a 5, I was going to have them multiple lines off, and that's not good for my score and all of that. And that's why I moved them. And ultimately, they were one of two teams that I was multiple lines off on. And the other one, if I'd stuck to my guns on the Tigers, then I would have been close. I would have been only one line off. And the other one was one that I was higher on in terms of their resume than the committee. And so were pretty much everybody else, although I was also higher than most of the other analysts on Louisville. The Louisville's 8 shocked me. The Tigers, I was pleasantly surprised because it's what I thought they deserved. Carolina's 8 seed shocked me. That was the most shocking seed in the entire tournament. Not the most shocking inclusion, as you know, but the most shocking seed that they put up there.
Was the Louisville 8 a trade-off for putting them in Lexington?
I think that's a fair trade. I think they just put them in Lexington because that's where the bracket fell. I think they totally whiffed on it. There's no justification for it. The resume metrics for Louisville are terrific. They were 13th in resume metrics, and they were not that far behind, right around 24th or 25th in the predictive metrics. All the metrics said they should be higher. They had a 15-7 record against 1 and 2 combined. They were 5-6 against quad 1. There was no. They said, well, it's about quad 2 when they put Carolina in. Okay, so Louisville was 10-1 against quad 2. It just doesn't. There's no logic to it. I wrote this morning. It felt like a typo.
That's interesting. I thought they said we're going to give you an 8, but we're going to put you at home. That kind of was like the trade-off with me.
Because your second round game is against the 1 seed, the number 1 overall seed. That doesn't help.
Well, does Auburn deserve to be the number 1 overall seed when they lost 3 of their last 4 games?
Absolutely. It's funny. I wrote probably 4 days in advance of that sequence that they could afford to lose 3 of their remaining games and still be the 1 overall team. I did not expect them to test that theory. Yeah. They did, but I was right. They were that far ahead of the field. When you think about Duke being the number 2 overall, Duke was fantastic. It's a great team. I think they're going to win this thing. But the reasoning why Carolina should not be in the field is, the ACC is historically terrible. Here's a number that shows you how awful it is. Okay, Carolina won 6 consecutive games in February and early March prior to their home game against Duke, which they lost. The average net ranking as of now of those 6 teams was 144, I believe. 144, 143, right around there.
Geez.
And there is not a single team, not one team in the Big 12, Big 10, SEC that is that low. That's lower than 107. So that's the average of what they ran through in February, and you couldn't find anyone that was within 30 spots of that in any of those other 3 leagues.
I'm confused because, as you just said, the metrics they used with Louisville seem weird. Memphis, and I give you a little crap because you did have them as an 8, but so did Lenardi. Palm was the closest guy at 6. Nobody had them as a 5. When that 5 came up, you could have knocked me over. I was just praying to miss the 8-9 game.
Yeah.
Honest to goodness. I thought 6 or 7 would be where they would end up. 5, shocking. It's worth the trip to Seattle to be a 5 seed, in my estimation. And I don't mind their path here at all. I think it's a fair path. I think they got a chance to do something. They're not going to have Tyrese Hunter probably. That'll be a bit of a problem. But still, they have enough pieces. I think they can get to the Sweet 16. That would be a lot of fun if they do in San Francisco. But I'm confused. Did the committee go more resume metrics, or did they use some of the predictive net sort of analytics, or was it in the middle? It didn't seem to me. I can't figure it out is what I'm saying.
I think they leaned more toward resume metrics generally, but then there were the outliers like Louisville that made no sense. If you look down, there's a site, Bart Torvik, whose T rank is now on the team sheet. and he has a cool little tool wherein he presents the resume and predictive averages, which I had until one of my colleagues, Harold Shelton at BTN, pointed out that Bart was doing this. I was wearing out my iPhone doing the calculations on that because it's a big part of how I was doing my field. And if you look at I'll tell you right now, because he has the rankings and the seed that they wound up with. Okay, so Michigan State was 7th overall. They were a 2. St. John's, 8 overall. This is in resume metrics. 2. Kentucky, 9, 3. Wisconsin, 10, 3. Michigan, 11, 5. Texas, 12, 4. Louisville, 13, 8 seed. It's like, where did that come from? Like, do they all hate Kentucky Fried Chicken? Like, what is this about?
Yeah. Crazy. I can't figure it out. SEC getting 14 in. Is that kosher? Here's the one thing. You mentioned North Carolina getting in. How about Texas getting in at 19 and 15? I know they're in the SEC. I know it's a tough league. They lost 15 games this year. They're 4 games over 500. They get in?
They're not the first team that's gotten in at 19-15. And I believe that most of the others that have are members of the SEC and not members of this SEC, which is historically great. Texas had 7 wins against the field. You could pick up 2 or 3 of the other bubble teams, and they wouldn't match the 7 combined. I mean, Carolina and Xavier combined did not get to 7. Carolina and Indiana combined did not get to 7. I think if you put all 3 of them together, you might get there. To me, that I had Texas in. On Saturday, I had Carolina into my field. Not because I believed they were anywhere deserving, but I thought the committee. I looked at the predictive metrics and I said, that's what they're going to do. They're going to circle those predictives and they're going to say, this is why they're in, and justify something that's indefensible. And then overnight I talked myself out of it. I said, no, I mean, they can't do this. It'd be so wrong. It would look so bad. It would undermine all the credibility the committee has built up over the years. I mean, they really damaged it. I'm not kidding. I mean, they really everything that people believed, like the stuff that people say they put in who they want and all that. Like, they spent years proving none of that's true by putting in teams. Yeah, okay, so sometimes they'd leave out a Monmouth in 16 or whatever. But like, if you were a significant team and you had a outstanding season, you were almost certainly going to get in. And usually what was left out was something that it was like 2 teams that neither one was great, but one of them was a little bit better than the other, or maybe there's like just a difference of opinion. There's no difference of opinion here. The entire community that does this had North Carolina out. And because there's nothing about their resume that truly justifies it. When you have so many of your victories meaning little, and losing so regularly to the teams that actually are in the field, there's just no inclusion. And here's what's going to happen, Dave. They're going to win a game, maybe 2, maybe even 3, and get to the Sweet 16. And then all the people who are Carolina fans and the 12 people on the committee are going to say, see, this is why. No, it doesn't justify their inclusion. It whatever happens now, it doesn't justify the fact that they had no business being in the field.
I will say this, the first 4, though, is pretty darn intriguing. Think about it. San Diego State, North Carolina, Texas, Xavier? Wow. That's a hell of a first 4.
Well, I say you're going by the San Diego State's brand. They've been awful.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I'm going brand only. But didn't the committee with North Carolina to begin with? Come on.
I just, the Carolina is poor, but they have at least some capable players and have played respectably at times. San Diego State has been pretty awful. They're playing in a Mountain West that isn't nearly what it was a year ago and failing to win the biggest games. They were fortunate to stay in the field. I think it was what they did in November and December with the Houston win and some others that kept them in. The Texas Xavier game is really interesting because Texas is really talented. They have some terrific young players. Xavier is a team that can really score, but just can't seem to finish games. They can't get the stops they need late in games. They can't make the plays they need late in games. They should have beaten St. John's that on the road. That one was kind of taken from them, really bad officiating. But they should have beaten Marquette. They were up 17 points in a game they kind of needed to win to feel good about getting in and didn't. It should be an interesting game as a result of that. Plus, hey, Xavier is like literally 40 minutes away, 45 minutes away from Dayton. So I would suspect there's going to be a lot of blue in that crowd.
You couldn't get a ticket to Lexington. That's going to be amazing. I'm not sure there's going to be a whole bunch of crowd in Seattle. We're looking. Oregon's the closest one. They'll probably get some representation. Usually, and I'm going to give the committee credit on this. Usually, I can look and I go, okay, this is the toughest bracket, or this is the easiest bracket. I don't think I can do that this year.
I can tell you which one is the dullest bracket, so to speak. I wrote on Twitter that the city of Indianapolis hasn't seen this much defense since Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis were on their football team. I mean, Houston, Tennessee, Purdue, UCLA, like there are not a lot of teams that are going up and down in this group, and especially if, as I suspect, Houston and Tennessee are the ones that get to the very end.
That will be a bloodbath. Oh my God,
yeah,
that'll be a bloodbath.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think they're 2-3 in Ken Palm defense or something like that.
You real quick here. You picked Duke. You said that. You think they're going to win it all. Who's your dark horse?
Well, I guess, I mean, the weird thing is, like a dark horse to go far is BYU. I have them in the Elite Eight. But it's weird. Usually there are about 6 or 7 or maybe 8 teams that fit the normal qualifications to win this thing. And there are about 5 or 6 that you usually cover all those. The rim protection, a point guard who's very good and complete command of your team, offensive and defensive efficiency at the high end and top 20 level, NBA first-round guys, all of those sorts of things. You usually have creative wings who can beat a late shot clock, all that kind of stuff. And I look at this field and I see 3 teams, maybe, that have those. So one of these 2 things has happened. It's either going to be Duke or Florida with an outside shot at Michigan State, or this tournament is going to break all the precedent.
I'm going to lean. I love Florida. I'm not a believer in Michigan State. Of course, I saw them early when Memphis beat them.
Right.
And I have to ask you this, and then we got to go. Do you have Memphis with a win at all in Seattle?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me look at my bracket. Which region are they in?
They are in the West. They take on Colorado State, and then the
Okay,
winner
there
of
we are.
Maryland Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I picked an upset. I would not have done that if Tyrese were healthy, and I hope that doesn't affect them. I hope that they did a really nice job yesterday in a game that UAB desperately needed, and they didn't really need. I mean, I guess in the end they did, but everybody thought they were going to the 8-9 game, and maybe they thought that too. And I really respected their effort yesterday, all weekend. I mean, yeah, I think this weekend was what we've been waiting to see from this team. That them really taking the initiative, and I know they did it also as well on the road on the road game at UAB. So it's not like it's never happened, but this was them making a statement. So I hope the Tyrese injury doesn't affect them. But Colorado State's a pretty well coached team. There are other teams that in that range. They got the toughest 12 out of all of them. I mean, in terms of talent, coaching mix. There are other coaches that you might get excited about at that level. But in terms of the combination, I think they got the toughest of that group.
Well, I'm hoping Nico Medved is thinking about Minnesota. That's what I'm thinking. Mike DeCourcy, thank you so much as always. We do appreciate it, and we'll have a Sweet 16 to talk about next Monday.
You bet, Dave. Thanks.
That's our man, the Hall of Famer from the Sporting News. That is Mike DeCourcy. In case you don't know, Colorado State's coach Nico Medved is very intimately linked with the job at Minnesota. We'll see if that happens. This portion of the show brought to you by the Spirit Shop. Go see Eddie Connor right there at the corner of Poplar and St. Nick. It's 4848 Poplar, the little log cabin down from Clark Tower. You've passed it a million times. It's the best location. Easy to get to. And they've got everything you could possibly need when it comes to his spirit to celebrate. You probably celebrated so hard over the weekend with those 3 Tiger victories and the Grizz beating Miami that you may be depleted of spirits. It's so easy to get to Poplar and St. Nick, and Eddie Connor will give you an education, or anybody in the place. They're so nice. They will teach you about what's of value, what's an up-and-comer, what is rare, why it's rare. They'll tell you everything about bourbon or the up-and-coming wine or the newest tequila or a flavored vodka, whatever you want. They know about it. They have the best price on it, and they will teach you. It's easy. You just get to the Spirit Shop. We take a quick timeout. When we come back, it's time for medals.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about everything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, beyond the bottle, Tito's has gained a reputation for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits around the world to serve its community and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's and learn more at Tito'sVodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
If you need glass replaced, there is one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood, across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit BinswangerGlass.com. Binswanger Glass.
Join us celebrating 26 years of Napa Cafe. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm inviting you over for dinner. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner of scrumptious combinations, fresh salads, homemade soups, or maybe start with an appetizer, like our baked Dungeness crab dip with manchego cheese, lemon, garlic, and French baguette toast. Drift into one of our fresh seafood dishes, like the caramelized sea scallops with curry beurre blanc, black forbidden rice, and Thai mango salad. Or our ancho honey glazed salmon with creamy black bean puree, avocado pico de gallo, and jalapeno crema. Maybe you're looking for something cozy and comforting, like our Duroc pork chop with apple brandy demi-glaze and blue cheese bacon mashed potatoes. We have something for everyone. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. I'd sure love to see you.
I had the worst dream last night. We were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
That's awful, hon.
My brother got life insurance from Ethos, and it only took 10 minutes. And he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit ethos.com/now. That's ethos.com/now.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
When you're working outdoors, unpredictability is the norm. So tackle the toughest jobs on the 2025 Honda Pioneer Summit. This rugged side-by-side is powered to any party with reliable torque towing and smooth shifting from trails. And you can choose between 3 trims, standard, deluxe, or the Trim Timber Force Edition. Built to everyone's adventures. See the 2025 Honda Pioneer Summit at your tool at Casino Honda, 5657 Road in Oak Ridge.
March is known for its madness, but this year the madness means money for Sports 56 listeners. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM will be giving away $98.50 a day for as long as the University of Memphis is alive and
We end our Mondays by giving out medals. I've got a couple for each category here, at least on the positive side. I'm going to give a bronze to Mira Andreeva. Who is she, you might ask?
I'm going to guess a tennis player, Dave.
Well, you're going to get to know a lot about her. She's a 17-year-old Russian. She beat Arina Sabalenka in Indian Wells, and that's a big tournament. So she wins that. She's the youngest since Serena Williams in 1999 to beat both a number 1 and a number 2. On the way to the victory, she's won 19 matches already this year. She's just made the top 10. 2 titles already? She's going to be something else. I got to give a bronze medal to the International Olympic Committee. I don't know if you saw this, but they have recognized that boxing is going to be a part of the 28 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. Here's the caveat. The old IBA, the International Boxing Association, corrupt, awful. And it almost cost boxing being in the Olympics. They're out. There's a new governing body in. It's called World Boxing. Hopefully it's much more legit and on the up and up. So the IOC has saved boxing. I've got to give a silver medal to Boston, to Cleveland, to Oklahoma City. They've already clinched playoffs. By the way, the Cavs have already clinched their division with 14 games to go. I got to give Triple J and Bain. Desmond Bain. They get silvers from me. Bain, 22 and 10. The guy's has all of a sudden become a rebounder and 8 assists. Triple J at 31 and 6. They have been able to figure out ways to keep winning, so they're now in a 3-way tie for second, 43 and 25. They're only 1 game ahead, though, of the 5th place Lakers. Looks like that's going to who knows how those 2, 3, 4, and 5 are going to end up in the long run. And then I've got 2 quick goals. One to CBS for opening up with a little tribute to Bryant Gumbel, a memory there. The guy did live for this stuff. He was great. I'm so glad they recognized him. And then, of course, for the Tigers, sweeping, even with the injury, sweeping in Fort Worth, beating UAB that had everything to play for when they really did not, and putting them away in a incredible second half, blowing them away with 52 points in that half. They get my gold. They were rewarded for that preseason schedule. It paid off. They won both titles. They are golden this year.
Absolutely. I'll run through mine real quick. I got to give a bronze to Tony Madlock in Alabama State. Just an incredible year. Win the SWAC over the weekend and get a spot into March Madness. They'll play tomorrow night in part of the first 4 against St. Francis. This is a St. Francis team that I think is 1 game under 500 in the tournament, or maybe 1 game over 500. Maybe they got there in their conference tournament, but a team that kind of went on a similar
1 game
run.
under 500. They're 16 and 17.
There you go. So a team that went on a run.
Fighting Madlocks.
And 3.5-point favorite, so I think they have a really good chance tomorrow night. Loved seeing that over the weekend. My silver goes to the Tony Allen jersey retirement Saturday night. A lot of fun. Probably my favorite player from the core 4, so really fun seeing that moment for him. It was fun seeing all the guys there supporting him, so a really good time. And then my golds, 2 of them, the Tigers getting that 5 seed. I don't think many people saw that coming. Certainly no bracketologist saw that coming. And then Florida for getting the final number 1 seed after winning the SEC tournament. They are playing like the best team in the country right now.
Well, it was Florida going to be 1 or Tennessee was going to be 1. The winner got their place, no doubt about it. 1 rust for me, it's the Grizzly injury woes. With John Morant, now it's a hamstring. There was a shoulder, there was an ankle, there was a hip. You name it. This guy has got some body part that's not working right. And then Eldama with the calf. And Santi's a really important player for this team.
And they haven't said much about him ever since that injury.
And Pippen is also very questionable for tonight. He's got a bad wrist. So all these guys could be out for tonight against Sacramento, and these are the kind of games you got to win when you're trying to get into that position, second,
right.
third, fourth, or fifth. You don't want fourth or fifth because most likely you're going to end up with Houston.
Yeah.
And if you're fifth, you're going to be Houston without home court advantage. You don't want that.
No, not at all. I have 3 rusts. I'm going to run through them real quick. My first rust goes to Florida. They get the final number 1 seed, but this region is impossible for them. You look at all of the teams in their region, and it is going to be very, very tough for them.
Tigers
to
going to
make it
knock
out
them
of that.
off?
Well, hey, Tigers could be one of them, but you look at this. UConn in the 8-9 game, the team that just won back-to-back national championships. Memphis right there. Maryland right there. Texas Tech, Kansas, Arkansas, St. John's. I mean, this is a very difficult region with a lot of really good coaches.
I love that. Cal has to take on Bill
Oh,
Self.
it's awesome.
First time,
It's
I guess,
fantastic.
since 2008.
Well, no,
And
they
then-
played earlier this year. They played on Thanksgiving. Kansas
that's
and
right.
Arkansas did. So it's a rematch.
And then, if he wins that, Rick Pitino.
That's right.
Love it.
Oh, man.
Love
It's insane. So Florida gets a rust from me. Louisville gets a rust from me. How in the world is this Louisville team an 8 seed? It makes no
Well,
sense
that's
at
the
all.
committee you're giving a rust to. Louisville
Sure.
didn't pick that spot.
Give 'em a
But
rust, yes.
If they said to them, we'll give you the 8, but you get to play in Lexington.
Sure. I mean, I guess it evens out.
I don't know, yeah.
But that's a tough seed for them. And then I guess we'll give the NCAA committee another rust. Everybody's talking about North Carolina getting in. That's kind of been the hot take.
Yeah.
Xavier for me. How in the world did Xavier get into this bracket? Look, the bubble is terrible. I understand that. But you look at Xavier's resume, it is terrible. I mean, they are just no good. 1-9 in quad 1. Nothing screams good in any of their metrics. They did not play. I know North Carolina, everyone's saying they got in because of the strength of their non-conference schedule. Xavier was horrible. I mean, the 60 non-conference
And
strength.
taking on a Texas 1915 team?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I could have, but again, the bubble was terrible. You got to get 68 teams in. I completely understand that.
Yeah. And those are our rusts. It's all been brought to you by the good folks at Southern Security, your home team credit union. You can refinance your auto loan if you need cash with Southern Security. You won't have a payment for 60 days. They'll finance up to 115%. You heard me. Southern Security will finance up to 115% of the current value of your vehicle for up to 72 months. To find out how to put more cash in your pocket, all you got to do is make a call to a team service member at 901-452-7900 or just go to the website at southernsecurity.org. Southern Security, a proud supporter of U of M Athletics and 901 Women and federally insured by NCUA. That's Southern Security, your home team credit union. That does it for us. Johnny Radio is right around the corner. We'll see you right here tomorrow morning.